Are you a pro at dodgeball? Is your idea of a perfect day just staying away from people? Do you feel like physical contact should be banned from sports? Well, get ready for a deck where you'll tell your opponents that they're not allowed to come anywhere close to you and that they should stay on their side of the board. All that without needing a second work from home job. That's right, for around 17 US dollars, we're showing you a deck you can build, master, upgrade, and even bring to your local league to have fun with and compete in matches. Hello, Inkspilled Glimmers, I'm your host Nick, and welcome back to Inkling Adventures, the series where we help players take their first journey into the world of Lorcana. Today, we're exploring the world of deck building with a starter budget version of Emerald Ruby Evasive. You ready? Let's take a dive. Emerald Ruby has to be one of the most treacherous decks for new players. Evasive at lower power is a really strong keyword. Even at higher power, it still has its uses and can be a pain to deal with. But on these budget lists, having a deck with a lot of evasive character, being able to quest without any risk, or basically none, is something that might drive you to think that, oh my god, this is so good, I'm never going to lose a game, only to be eerily disappointed once the higher powered or higher priced card come into the card pool and make you realize that it's not the end all be all it might look to be. That being said, we're on a budget format here, and this deck is an absolute blast. Playing evasive characters like Goofy Daredevil and Flynn Rider, his own biggest fan, to quest a lot, quest fast, remove opponent's character with a lot of direct removal, as well as some characters with good stats, win the game, and make you feel like the world is your oyster. Now, don't go being too happy about it. It's not a perfect deck. The characters are not too great at removing your opponents. You have no real card draw. And as we're gonna see later, the upgrade path is not as obvious as some of the other decks. The deck is all about evasive, and right from the get-go, Pegasus, Gift for Hercules comes down on turn 1, an evasive character himself, 1/1 questing for 1, and sets the tone. As mentioned in previous videos, he can shift into Pegasus Cloud Racer on turn 3 to give evasive to all of your board for a turn, but mostly in this case to be a 3/3 that quests for 2, most of our board already being evasive. On turn 2, depending on what you're playing against, you'll either want to play Queen of Art, Impulsive Ruler, as a removal tool if there's something you want to deal with, or you might want to play Ursula Deceiver, which, when she comes down, you look at your opponent's hand, and you might select and discard a song card from their hand. So if you're playing against an Ember Steel Song or an Ember Emerald Song deck, you might want to play that on turn 2. But if you're just going into your aggro plan, you'll want to play Flynn Rider, Charming Rogue. This 1/2 for 2, quests for 2, and whenever he's challenged, the challenging player chooses and discards a card. So you're attacking their resources right as you're questing for a lot. On turn 3, you can get even more evasive with Minnie Mouse, Stylish Surfer, who quests for 2, is a 1/3, and is evasive, obviously. Or you can slow them down with Kit Cloudkicker, Tough Guy. When you play him, you may return chosen opposing character with 2 strength or less to their player's hand. So if you're on the play, turn 1 you play Pegasus, turn 2 you play Flynn, turn 3 you quest with Flynn, play Kit, return whatever they had planning to attack Flynn into their hand, and Flynn lives to fight another day. Alternatively, you can also shift Flynn Rider, his own biggest fan, onto our small Flynn. This 2/3 evasive character for 4 may quest for 4. However, he gets 1 less lore for each card in your opponent's hand. So, usually not the best one to shift on turn 3. But, if your opponent is rolling low on card, he's going to quest for a lot really, really fast. Also on turn 4, you may play Tinkerbell, most helpful. She's an evasive character, 2/3, questing for 2, and when she comes into play, chosen character gains evasive this turn. This ability is usually used to allow one of your characters to remove another opposing evasive character, but can also be used more offensively if your character has a non-evasive bodyguard that you want to avoid with one of your non-evasive characters. It's not something that's going to come up often in this specific deck, but it's a really good thing to keep in mind that if a bodyguard is evasive, he can't be targeted by non-evasive characters. In the 5-drop slot, apart from Pegasus, who we already shifted on turn 3, we have Dun Carnage, Prince of Pirates. He's a 4/4 questing for 2 evasive character, fitting our team really well, as well as Ray, easygoing Firefly, who's a 3/3 questing for 3 evasive. So, as you can see here already, and even more with Goofy Daredevil, who's a 3/4 questing for 2, our goal is to play these evasive characters, hope the opponent doesn't really have answers for it, and just quest for a million. In case they do have something on the ground, we can use Hercules, Daring Demigod, to move it out of the way, and rely on Queen of Hearts, Sensing Weakness, to draw some cards as we're challenging whatever's in our way. For more removal, we have 4 copies of Brawl, an action costing 3 that allows you to banish chosen character with 2 strength or less, and 2 copies of Dragonfire that straight up banishes chosen character for 5 uninkable. We also play 4 copies of Strike a Good Match, which is a 2-cost song that allows you to draw 2 cards, then choose and discard a card, so a little bit more card selection here, and 3 copies of Peter Pan's Dagger, which gives all your characters with evasive plus 1 strength. That is really good as we're trying to avoid people challenging us, and having the dagger down makes that more painful for them to try to challenge us. So you've played the deck a few times, you really enjoy the power it gives you, and you want to push it to the next level. Well, let's hope you have some cash lying around or some extra cards, because there's not a lot of upgrades for the deck, and they're not cheap ones. You can always put in a Lady Tremaine or a Madame Medusa at 6 cost uninkable and around $1.30, $1.40 each. They each remove a character in their own way when they come into play. But apart from that, we get into Emerald Ruby staples. You can get copies of Maui, Hero to All, that's around $13, and that is a Rush Reckless that's going to protect your board by removing whatever's in its way. You can stay on the evasive train with Diablo, Devoted Herald, which is going to draw you cards during each of your opponent's turn whenever they draw a card. If he's exerted, he's a 2/2 evasive that costs 3 and is uninkable, but that in the real world is going to cost you around $32 per copy, which is twice the price of the deck. Similarly, you can refill your hand with Clarabelle, Light on Her Hooves, a 7-drop inkable character that at the end of your turn, if you have less cards in hand than one of your opponent, allows you to draw cards until you have as many as they have. Really, really great for refilling that hand and going all the way, but also a card that's currently going for almost $40 per copy. So we really don't suggest you jump into it right away, but if you're lucky opening packs, they're definitely great additions to the deck. Now, let's go see how little people can interact with evasives in lower powered or lower budget formats, and go see the game. Alright, Emerald Ruby, let's get dodging. So our opponent also on Emerald, so they're going to have evasive as well. But we start first with a Pegasus, even though we're on the draw. So Pegasus, Emerald evasive, 1 drop by excellence. Here let's see, we're going to put Queen of Hearts, so we're going to threaten to remove that Cusco. Not really something we want to do, but still, having the threat out there is good. And our opponent is going to play Flotsam. So they're definitely going to have Evasive in that deck. But here we're going to strike a good match with the Queen of Hearts, see if we can find more Evasives, some removal, something to deal with those eels before they become too big of a threat. Let's see. So we're inking another Strike a Good match and playing Minnie Mouse Surfer. So a lot of our deck is made up of, obviously, evasive characters, but also characters that are going to quest for quite a bit, especially on the Emerald side. So we are still a fairly aggressive deck with this. And we do have some removal in it, but that's really not the core of what we're trying to do. We're trying to win fast and without being disturbed. This really is the work from home deck where you don't want to see anyone, you don't want to talk to anyone, just let me quest in peace and win the game. And here we see it. We remove Broody with a Brawl. So one less evasive for them only to play another Broody and have another evasive back. And now they shift Flotsam and Jetsam, remove our Queen of Hearts, and have their own evasive on board to try to deal with our board. But here we're going to Dragonfire that Flotsam and Jetsam before it gains evasive and quest with Minnie Mouse. Now they can send Broody in, but it's not going to do much. Here it seems like our opponent is stuck with some ink problems, so we're going to capitalize on it, playing Peter Pan's Dagger, which is going to give an extra damage to all of our evasive characters, which right now is all of our boards with Flynn Rider, his own greatest fan. So Flynn quests for 4, -1 for each card in our opponent's hand. So right now he quests for 3. We're going to capitalize on that, and there comes Ray. Ray's a 5-drop 3/3 that quests for 3, so we're definitely starting to see our big questers here, and yeah, there it is. We have basically the game on board, even though our opponent brings us down to 15. We have 8 lore on board, and he's already given up. So yeah, that's how fast this deck can go. Now that was a blink and you'll miss it game. With our big evasive questers, our Ruby removal card, and the ability to quickly put the opponent on the back foot, Emerald Ruby showed why it will often be one of the first decks people build when they try to get a little bit more competitive into the game. That's gonna be it for today. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment with the card you would put in the deck if you were the one building it. We'll see you tomorrow, but until then, keep on questing.